So in this video I just wanted to cover some of the basics of graphical programming. So here I want to talk about how to access buttons on Cassini and how to place buttons into test panels, how to move buttons around, how to change the values of buttons, how to delete buttons, and then also some fundamentals on how to create more space in your test panel and then how to make it easier to view your buttons. So to get started, I'm just going to create a new test plan. Select New. So you can get to the buttons two different ways. What we're going to do is open up an edit panel, or what's called an editor. And one way to get to it is from the test plan itself. You can select Tester View from the menu options. And then the other option is you could do the same menu selection from the configuration window. So here you can also select Tester View. Now the reason for the Tester View options are that if you look at the instruments in our editor, it's actually a reflection of the instruments in the configuration. So when you're working on test plans, the buttons that you have access to is a So any one of these fields I left click on and highlight, and the panel below is where we're going to paste buttons for that corresponding panel. So if I want to add buttons to my global defaults, I select up here. If I want to add it to my section defaults, I highlight this button, and now any button I place down in this panel will be in the section default. But this one, let's just put it in the test panel itself. So I'll left click on the test panel. And then now we have to go over to our editor and then just select an instrument that we want to start with to access buttons. So let's just start with Duct Control. So if I left click on Duct Control, so these are all the features in Duct Control. So if I select device power 1 through 8, here are the buttons that correspond to that resource. So to place buttons in panels, it's a copy-paste operation. You right-click on the button of interest and then select from the pop-up window. And it highlights the button, so this is putting it into a paste buffer. And then I come over to the panel where I want to paste the button, and where I have my cursor, I can right-click, and then I can select Paste Button. Now while that button is highlighted, it's in that paste buffer, so every time I right-click, it will paste another button. To remove buttons from the paste buffer, you just right-click on the highlighted button, and then select Deselect. Now the other way to copy and paste buttons is you can hold down the Control key and then left click on a button and then come over in your panel and do the same operation. You hold down the Control key and then left click. Just like before, as the button's highlighted, it's in the paste buffer, so every time I do a Control left click, I'm going to get another paste operation. Now you can also use the Control left click to remove that button from our paste buffer by either Control and left click on the button itself, or you can left click on the background of the editor and that will also remove it. Now this copy-paste operation also works between test panels and across test plans. So I can also Control left click a button here in my panel and then Control left click and do a paste. So you can also use this to copy buttons from other test plans over to the one you're working on, or within your test plan you can copy and paste buttons. For instance, if I wanted to copy this button up into my global defaults, I can just do a Control left click while it's in my paste buffer, and I'll get another copy of it up here at my global defaults. Now, once you get a few buttons in a test panel, you're going to want to try and move them around. So moving buttons is a right click and hold, and you'll see it changes the cursor and gives you the outline of the button, and so you can drag this to where you want and then release the right mouse button and it'll paste it. Now we can use this same operation to actually gain more space on the panel. You just right click and drag a button off the panel and you'll see the window automatically resizes itself to fit all the buttons in. So there's never a case where you can get a button off the screen, and we use this as a way to get more space. So you can see really quickly you can gain quite a bit of space. But But the problem with it is that you can get a little too carried away like this, and now it's really difficult to see buttons. And so if you want to do the reverse operation, to maximize the size of the buttons, you just right-click on the background and then select Maximize. So this will maximize the space the buttons occupy in the panel to make it a little bit easier to read. Now another way to access a little bit more space to work with is you can also zoom in on the panel. So if you right-click and select Zoom, this removes the organization part of the test plan view, and now you're just looking strictly at the panel. So this gets you a little bit more space. And it's the same operation to reverse it, so you just right-click and select Zoom again to undo it, and now we're back where we started. So to delete buttons, it's also a right-click operation. You just right-click on a button that you want to delete, and then select Delete. And it'll pop open a confirmation window, and you can just confirm the delete, and it removes the button. So the last bit is changing the values of a button. So let me just grab another button type to bring in. So to change the value of a button, you just left-click on the field. And there's two different types of interactions you get. So if I left-click on the VCC3, it pops open this window where I can enter in a value. And the other type of button is a pop-up window. If I left-click on Device Power 5, I can choose from a selection menu. And when I click on it, it updates the field. So that's just some of the basics of graphical programming. For more information, go to our website where you can download our user manual from the Apple iBook Store or a PDF version. And definitely check out our other tutorial videos for more information on graphical programming.